Today's Monday, October 18th, 2021, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. The first African-American to ever be appointed chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The first the first black national security advisor, Colin Powell, died at the age of 84. We'll pay tribute to him. We'll also detail his amazing legacy. There also were some speed bumps along the way. We'll also hear from him. From my interview with him, we talked 10 years ago when he was honored by the NAACP. In Georgia, it is the first day of the trial for the three white men accused of chasing down and killing the unarmed black jogger Ahmaud Arbery. We'll take a look at how jury selection went today. This month marks the 55th anniversary of the Black Panther Party. Tonight, we'll have two former leaders of the Kansas City Black Panther Party who fled the U.S. to talk about the organization's history and anything that's really changed in the last half decade. Also, great news for a Newport News, Virginia family reunited with one of our black and missing we highlighted last week. Folks, it's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Hundreds of potential jurors were packed in a South Georgia courthouse as jury selection began for the three white men accused of murdering Ahmaud Arbery. Courthouse. Superior Court Judge Timothy Walmsley heard more motions and instructed the potential jurors.
And we'll make sure that you shall give true answers to all questions as may
classes. Number 20. Is there personally know Greg McMichael? He's seated over there next to Laura Hogue. Anyone know Greg McMichael personally? No cards. Does anyone know Travis McMichael? Seated right here. Does anyone know him personally? No cards. Does anyone know William, who goes by the nickname Roddy Bryan, who's sitting down there? Anyone know Mr. Bryan? All right. All right. You've seen the three gentlemen who are in the indictment. Do they look familiar to you? You might not know them personally, but you're looking at them going, yeah, I think I might know him from somewhere, I don't know. Anybody feel they are familiar? Number 25. Would they be from TV or anywhere? Yeah. Actually, no.
As the case is similar to the murder of another unarmed young black man.
Understand that this case is eerily similar to that of Trayvon Martin, another young African-American who was shot and killed by a citizen. The difference between Trayvon Martin and Ahmaud Arbery is there's video in Ahmaud Arbery, and we expect full justice for Ahmaud Arbery.
It could take 2 weeks or longer to seat a jury of 12 with 4 alternates to hear the case. 1,000 jury notices were mailed out to potential jurors. Let's discuss this with my panel. Dr. Omokongo Debinga, professorial lecturer, School of International Service at American University, Georgia Fort, independent journalist, Demario Solomon Simmons, a civil rights attorney, founder of Justice for Greenwood. Mario, I want to start with you. This is obviously going to be a trial that many people are going to be paying attention to. They'll be examining every aspect of this. And there was so much that happened in this particular case here. It even got us to this point.
Yeah, no question. Thanks, Roland, for having me on once again. I'm glad to see so many of my friends and people I work with, like Ben and Barbara Arwan down there in Georgia, representing and supporting the family of Ahmaud Arbery. You know, this is going to be a tough case, even though we've seen video. We've seen other cases where video has been very clear and we still didn't get a conviction. But I'm very pleased to see down there that they got rid of the DA who was involved in this conspiracy to cover up the crime of the murder of Ahmaud Arbery. I've been involved in jury selections many, many times. This is not going to be an easy opportunity to find an impartial jury, because everyone, it's a small town, everyone has heard about this case. But if they put on the evidence the way they should and the way the judge has been ruling, you know, they tried to bring in Ahmaud Arbery's mental issues that they said he had. They said he had some minor criminal background, things that were completely irrelevant. But this judge has kept it out. And if they keep this on what actually happened, that these individuals accosted this young man who was unarmed and shot and killed him, hopefully, and they should be convicted for first-degree murder.
Georgia, again, we've seen so many other cases, so many other stories that we've covered. Obviously, we saw the case of the officer who killed George Floyd there in Minneapolis, with the Walter Scott case as well. I mean, this is different because it's not involving a police officer, but it is involving someone who used to work with law enforcement, and that's part of the problem, how they frankly tried to cover this thing up to keep from bringing these folks to justice.
Correct. Roland, I think it's very interesting that Jackie Johnson was indicted. It's the first time I've ever heard of an attorney being indicted for their role in a cover-up. So it will definitely be interesting to see what type of evidence comes forth in this trial that shows, especially with McMichael, because I believe he was the one who used to work for the attorney who allegedly or is accused of asking officers to not make any arrests. And then obviously they had to move forward with those indictments after the video evidence was brought forth. But just like in the George Floyd case, it is going to be a very grueling trial. We're going to go through weeks of having to look at different video evidence and just testimony that is traumatizing for our community to continuously have to relive these narratives of our Black men being hunted down and killed by either law enforcement or other white folks in community, quite frankly, who feel like they have the authority to uphold the law and take matters into their own hands. But I'm hopeful that, like we saw in the Derek Chauvin trial, I was one of two journalists in the courtroom when he was sentenced. I'm hopeful that they'll be able to find a jury that can bring forth justice for Ahmaud's family.
Of course, what we saw here on Macongo, as Demario said, this effort to try to create this negative portrait of Ahmaud Arbery, and others are making the mistake. This is not the Ahmaud Arbery trial. He is not on trial. It is the three white men who killed him. They are on trial.
Absolutely, and I think you brought up several important points already that Attorney Crump also brought up, is that number one, this is not about what police have done. This is similar to Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin, and people are so quick to try to equate this as another style police case a la George Floyd. And it's great that we're differentiating between that, because that's extremely important. And then when you talk about people calling this the Ahmaud Arbery trial, we have to realize at the end of the day that this is extremely problematic in terms of the timing that people are using to choose to bring up information about Ahmaud Arbery, because a jury has not been selected yet. They have not been sequestered right now. So this information that is coming out, it's making its way to potential jurors who are going to already have this information. So I think that the defense is doing this on purpose, to go off of what Demario was saying, and I think that they're really being slick about it. I'm glad that we've had a judge who's made some good decisions to date. I'm also a little bit concerned about the makeup of whoever was involved in that jury selection, because I think everybody who you showed in that video was white, and there was one Black woman in the far corner. So that gives me a little bit of concern as well. And so, yeah, we have to make sure that people realize this is not the Ahmaud Arbery trial. These guys did not know anything about his status or probation or anything when they decided to execute him. And really, at the end of the day, it comes down to making sure that we don't let that narrative stick.
You know, look, Demario, we talk on this show a lot about voting and about voter suppression. Well, people have to understand, if you're not a registered voter, you don't get to be a part of jury selections. You don't get a jury notice. The two go hand in hand.
No, it absolutely goes hand in hand. And a lot of times, and I'm always advocating for this, and I'm Roland, I know you are, is a lot of times our people will get a jury notice and they say, hey, get me out of jury duty. I get that call all the time from my friends and professionals, and I'm saying, no, we need to show up, because it makes a big difference to have just one Black face in the jury room. It makes a big difference on the deliberations and what may happen. And that's why it's important for us to be involved at every step of the political process, registering to vote, voting, and showing up when it's our time to do our duty.
Well, Is the point there, Georgia, that we keep emphasizing that, and yeah, folks, oh my goodness, here comes the jury, but then a jury notice, a jury summons, but then they complain when something happens.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if you still have my audio here, but
Yeah, we got you. We got your audio.
even in the Derek Chauvin trial, you know, there were weeks of jury selection, and you had folks who were trying to wiggle their way out of it, but also just even the process, right? The jury selection process we saw in that trial, and I'm pointing to that trial. I know that there are some major differences, but just to point to the jury selection process, that was the first time America really got to see just how that process can be discriminatory. I mean, there was a woman who spoke Spanish, and they put her on the chopping block so quick and basically said she was incompetent just because English wasn't her primary language, right? That shouldn't be the reason why somebody is disqualified. And so as we look at these trials more and more, as they're televised and more visible across our country, we also need to be examining the process in which jurors are selected so that we can have an inclusive process that allows everybody a chance to sit on that jury and ultimately decide, you know, and I mean, think about how critical that role is to our citizenship.
Well, again, it's the thing is trying to get people to understand why all of these things are connected. We talk about connecting the dots, and so voting and voter registration is tied directly to a number of issues: who we elect as DAs, who we elect as judges, but also who gets these jury summons. And so that's why we emphasize this a whole lot. I'm trying to get our people to understand that. Got to go to break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Supreme Court addressing the issue of qualified immunity. That is next on Roland Martin Unfiltered, right here on the Black Star Network.
Betty is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon. So now, she's free to become Bear Hug Betty. Settle in, kids. You'll be there a while. Ooh, where you going?
What's up, everybody? It's Godfrey, the funniest dude on the planet.
Hey, I'm Taj. I'm Coco.
And I'm Lily.
And we're SWV.
What's up, y'all? It's Ryan Destiny, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
In two cases, the Supreme Court says police officers were entitled to qualified immunity when using force. In two unsigned opinions, the court stressed police are entitled to be shielded from liability unless it is clear to a reasonable officer that their actions are unlawful. Now, qualified immunity protects officials from lawsuits unless it can be proven they violated clearly established rights a reasonable person would know they have. One case involved an officer putting his knee on a man's back during an arrest while removing a knife from his pocket. In the other case, two officers shot and killed a man after he appeared to threaten them with a hammer. Now, police reform advocates have called for an end to qualified immunity, arguing it insulates officers from accountability for wrongdoing. DeMario, when you look at these cases here, it speaks volumes, if you will, to this balance that we're trying to strike And again, police officers, I mean, they want to protect, they want to keep this in, but the bottom line is here. We've got to deal with this reality of how this is impacting accountability. And so we don't have the Georgia Floyd Justice Act. It still hasn't passed on the congressional level, but you do have efforts where it can be impacted on the state level.
Yeah, Roland, this is something, as you know, I deal with on a daily basis in my practice. We do a lot of issues having to deal with qualified immunity, and it's one of the worst things that can happen to a family. This was my client, Dr. Tiffany Crutcher, whose twin brother Terrence was shot in 2016. Because of qualified immunity, this case has been sitting in court for almost 3 years, not being able to move forward because the other side has asserted qualified immunity. And what that does, not only does it prolong things, but it actually stops the court case until the judge decides the qualified immunity issue. It's very destructive. It doesn't allow families to have closure, and it allows these rogue officers to literally get away with murder. In the case, one of the cases that you were talking about is right here in Oklahoma, in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, where they cornered a man who they knew was intoxicated. They knew he was not in his right mind. They cornered him in his garage, and they forced the issue. And when he had a hammer in his hand, they could have backed out. They could have used pepper spray. They could have used a taser, but instead they shot him multiple times and killed him. And what the 10th Circuit stated was, hey, you can't cause a problem and then shoot someone and say, oh, well, qualified immunity. But the Supreme Court has allowed this to happen. And this is what people need to understand, why we need this federal legislation and we need these states to pass legislation to get rid of qualified immunity. It's not in the statute. It is a court-created law that was created by the courts back in the early 1980s when civil rights attorneys were able to use 1983 legislation to finally hold officers accountable. This is a big impediment to accountability and justice for people who are brutalized by the state. It must end, it must end, it must end, and we must do everything we can to make sure it happens.
This is something, Georgia, again, that we have to deal with. In Maryland, the governor, Larry Hogan, Republican, he vetoed the repeal of the Bill of Rights. It was overwritten by the Maryland legislature. That's one of the areas there. Now, obviously, they want to see action on the federal level, but people can still move on the state and local level. We can't hear you, Georgia. All right, hold on one second. I still can't hear you. We'll get your audio straight. Okay, so hold tight 1 second. I'm going to go to Omekongo, and then we'll come back to you. Omekongo?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, we got you. Go ahead.
Okay, awesome. Well, I think that when we look at these situations and in cases like this, my main problem when I see this right now is that this is like a sign of things to come, which I think can be very scary. And really, at the end of the day right now, I'm glad is what Demario was talking about in terms of there's other ways we can get around this, because we have to fight every single day just to make sure that the basics are taken care of. And one of the challenges we see right now is that these police don't care about de-escalation techniques. They don't care about fully engaging with the community. And we're going to get more situations like this. And when I see it right now, I feel like this type of case is going to make these officers feel like they are empowered to do more of this. And so we have to keep making sure that we're fighting at the local level in every way possible in order to make sure that this doesn't continue. But I got to tell you, Roland, when I first heard about these two, the rulings, I was like, okay, this is terrible. But then I was like, let me go and actually read what the cases were when it was sent to us. And I'm like, wow, these are basic interactions that happen with us every day. And now they're going to feel like they can get away scot-free with a lot of this. And it's a really scary time right now.
Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, I would just echo that. I think even here in Minneapolis, we're seeing the aftermath of community trying to figure out what is the best way to move forward with the police department that's currently being investigated by the Department of Justice. And so that is one thing that makes me hopeful, that the DOJ is not only investigating the Minneapolis Police Department, but also investigating Louisville, where Breonna Taylor was killed. But what really concerns me is the recent loopholes that we have learned about here. When you have, whether it's sheriffs or police officers who are deputized to serve on a federal task force, they actually do not have to wear body cameras. And we learned about that in June when Winston Smith was fatally shot by a U.S. Marshal. And we were told that there's absolutely no body camera footage of this incident at all. How can that be in 2021 when we've already gone through this, and it is recommended best practices that law enforcement agencies utilize body camera footage for transparency and accountability? But yet and still there are these loopholes that we're just now learning about. And so we have to move to a place as a country where we're not reactive. We're not waiting until another Black man is killed before we decide, oh, we need to change these laws. We should be taking these measures proactively before someone is killed.
You know, this is again, one of those issues that is at the center of this debate, if you will, DeMario, this battle going back and forth. And these unions are going to fight like crazy to ensure this does not get removed.
No question, unions, because they don't want their officers to have accountability. That's why, I mean, obviously we're all advocates for body cams and different type of training, but at the end of the day, it's just like basic second 2 to 4 year old. If there's no accountability, if they can get away with it, they will do it. And what we've seen now, and it's been really frightening over the last few years, is we've seen video after video after video, and people still do it. They know they have videos on. Last week, Roland, we talked about the officer who kicked the man in the face in Indianapolis. That guy knew he had a body cam on. He still did it because he feels like he can get away with it. So I would encourage everyone that's listening right now, reach out to your city councilor, your county commissioner, and your state representative and tell them to repeal qualified immunity within their state. Colorado's done it as a state. New Mexico has done it. New York City has repealed qualified immunity. So even though we don't have it on a federal level, we must continue to attack qualified immunity. It is the single biggest impediment to police accountability that is out there right now. They can kill people, beat people, steal money. They had a case in Fresno last term at the Supreme Court where these 2 officers literally stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from an individual, and the Supreme Court said, well, it wasn't, it's clearly established law that they did not have the right to steal this money. They literally stole money from a citizen, and the Supreme Court said qualified immunity protected them from prosecution, from being sued. And that's what we're up against, and that's why it's so imperative.
Absolutely. All right, folks, got to go to a break. We come back. One of our Black and Missing return home safely. Also have headlines up next right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered, the Black Star Network. Don't forget, folks, you can download the app. More than 18,000 folks have done so. Our goal is to get to 50,000 by December 31st, by the end of December. So please download on your Apple iPhone, Android phone, Roku, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox, and Samsung as well. You can, of course, support Roland Martin Unfiltered as well by joining our Bring the Funk fan club, where every dollar you give goes to support what we do. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. I'll be right back.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Ooh, yeah, that's nice. Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on? Sure. It's wireless. It's something we all like. Okay, hold on. What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password? Buick Envision 2021. Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable. That's a really tight spot. Don't worry. I used to hate parallel parking. Me too. Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you, all of you.
Once upon a time, there lived a princess with really long hair who was waiting for a prince to come save her. But really, who has time for that?
Let's go. Feeling myself. I'm feeling
She ordered herself a ladder with Prime one-day delivery, and she was out of there.
I'm with some hood girls looking back at it and a good girl in my tax bracket.
Now, her hairdressing empire is killing it. And the prince, well, who cares? Prime changed everything.
I'm Bill Duke.
This is Diala Riddle.
What's up, y'all? I'm Will Packer.
I'm Chrisette Michelle.
Hi, I'm Chaley Rose, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks. Every day, of course, we feature someone who is black and missing on this show. Many of their stories do not get the attention that is needed. Lakira Pitt-Goldsmith, she has been missing since November 27, 2018 in Montgomery, Alabama. Her grandmother saw her getting out of her boyfriend's car, but she never made it back into the house. Lakira was 20 years old at the time of her disappearance. She's approximately 5 feet 5 inches tall and weighs between 140 and 180 pounds. She has black hair and brown eyes. Both of her ears are pierced, as well as her lower lip. She has a snake eye tongue piercing. When Lakira went missing, she was wearing a black velvet knee-length dress, a silver rhinestone choker necklace, silver rhinestone earrings, and a silver lip ring. She also had blonde hair extensions with black roots. If you have any information about Lakira Pitt-Goldsmith, contact the Montgomery, Alabama Police Department at 334-625-2810. That's 334-625-2810. Now, here's an update on a story that we told you about last week. 30-year-old Tynesha Taylor, she has been found. She's been missing for more than a month. She had been reunited with her family and is in good health. She, of course, was found missing out of Newport News, Virginia, and she's been found safe and is with her family. And so we certainly are glad to hear about that news. And so we're going to do one of these stories every single day, folks, because, again, those things are critically important. Folks, in Philadelphia, they become the first major city to ban police officers from pulling over drivers for low-level violations like broken taillights. The driving equality bill passed by the Philadelphia City Council will stop officers from using traffic stops as a precursor to search vehicles. In 2019, black folks accounted for 43% of the city's population, 72% of vehicle code violation stops. Less than 1% of those stops resulted in illegal weapons or drug seizures. Let me say it again. 72% of all vehicle code violations in Philadelphia were involving African American. Less than 1% of those stops resulted in illegal weapons or drug seizures. Congo, this is something we showed the video last week several, actually we did several videos that it happens all the time. Walter Scott, that was a taillight. Case of the brother there in Minneapolis, the officers go, Dante, what? Traffic stop. I mean, we can go on and on how many times traffic stops have resulted in the death of African Americans. And so this is a great move by the City Council of Philadelphia.
I really commend the City Council of Philadelphia for what they're doing. And you can go even outside of this to situations with stop and frisk in New York. Whenever there's any type of policy that allows the police to interact with civilians, the majority of the cases are always going to be affecting us. Same thing we saw with Ferguson when they did a study a while ago. And other cities need to follow suit with this. These basic interactions should not cost us our lives, illegal searches, or other types of issues. You're talking about 43% and over 70% of the people stopped. We need more of this. We talk a lot about, and again, this is an example of what happens from what we were talking about in the last segment, of when you're proactive instead of reactive and not just waiting for the next case to happen. And so other cities need to, I would love to see that happen in places like DC, in my hometown of Boston, Massachusetts, because really at the end of the day, we need more of this. And it's another example of what people can be doing on the local level while this federal government is still dragging its feet on every part of legislation having to deal with police interactions with black people, which is extremely frustrating.
Georgia, this is one of those examples, again, for people who are watching, and it's amazing to me how many times we have to reiterate this, when folks focus on, oh my goodness, Congress is not acting, Biden's not doing anything, and I keep saying, you can impact criminal justice reform, you can impact mass incarceration, you can impact all these issues, not just in Washington, D.C. City councils, county governments, state legislatures, they can all take action. This type of law passed by the city council is important because in other cities, DAs have announced they are not going to prosecute these cases. This is the city council ordering the cops, do not do it.
Yeah. And these are the kind of reforms that are needed in order to restore trust in communities of color. I mean, what we've seen over the last decade is severe erosion of trust between police and communities of color. And so unless we're seeing more of these types of reforms, we're going to continue to have issues. Roland, you have someone like Philando Castile, who was pulled over 49 times in 13 years, 49 times. That is ridiculous. And so I think that this is a huge step in the right direction. But, you know, even here, we're approaching a huge vote that's coming up on November 2nd, where you have some folks who are looking to seriously abolish the Minneapolis Police Department. And even going back to folks like Angela Davis, civil rights icon Angela Davis. I remember hearing her say that reforming the police is like reforming slavery. And at one point in time, before slavery was abolished, there were serious conversations about reforming slavery, and that sounds absurd, right? And so she drew that parallel here in a city where they are drawing blueprints of what a new public safety department could look like. But I think that on a local level, if you're seeing more police departments get real serious, and I mean real serious about their commitment to reform and adapting a model like this, we might actually be able to salvage our police departments in this country.
You know, DeMario, the thing that I think is hard for people to come to grips with is that we have given so much leeway and allowed police officers to frankly, do whatever the hell they want. In the next segment, we're going to talk about the 55th anniversary of the Black Panther Party. Everybody forgets the Black Panther Party was founded initially to protect black citizens from police abuse. The thing, and so a lot of people just don't quite get it when we're talking about how pervasive this is, and this type of law is important because, tell me this, if a cop does pull somebody over and it results in some sort of action, now from this point forward, isn't that an unlawful act since the city council has outlawed it?
Absolutely, and it shows a good basis to bring forward your civil suit, but hopefully that these cops will listen to and follow the law. And this is what's important about this. Number one, there's never been trust between law enforcement and the black community because we know what they're about. They're about oppressing us. There should be, anybody that's listening right now, you do not want to have any interaction with the police, period, point blank. And so anything that stops you from having interaction with the police is a good thing, number one. Number two, it is important for city councils, county commissioners, and mayors of cities to take control and control their police departments. We cannot rely upon a police department to reform itself. It's not going to do it. Here in Tulsa, we had to fight really, really hard to get our city councils to finally understand that they do have power, they can pass legislation, and we want to look to this Philadelphia model as a model we want to bring here to Tulsa and around the country. There is no need for these people to pull you over for a tail light or your headlights not on. That is just pretextual opportunities for them to get to you and abuse you and violate your civil rights. Also, this is why we need a decriminalization of marijuana. That is another major component for them to be able to violate rights by saying they smelled something and now you got to get out your car. And the last thing I would say for everyone listening, remember this: if you have police interaction, never admit to any crime, never consent to any search. Say it again: never admit, never consent. I'm gonna say it one more time: never admit and never, ever, ever consent to a search. They will always try to find something to violate your rights, believe me.
All right, so on that particular point, last week we showed this video of a brother who was coming home from church. Girlfriend was in the car and child was in the back seat. They pull him over for a traffic violation. Then they ask him to step out of the car to search his vehicle. Now, we showed the body. First of all, the cops lied because they claim he didn't use a turn signal. Well, on the body camera footage, it showed he did use a turn signal. But in that case, they literally they rummaged through everything in the car. Okay, so for the people who are watching, okay, so when you say don't give consent, should he have said, you do not have the right to search my vehicle? What exactly should someone say? If they pull you over and the officer says, I need you to step out of the car so we can search the vehicle, what do you say?
Okay, first of all, I don't know what your state law may say about getting in and out of your car, so you have to check that. But your constitutional federal right is that you can deny or object to a search, and you should always say no. I don't care if they say we're going to send you here and bring out the dogs. I don't care if they say we can get a warrant. Say no, because if you give them the opportunity and you say yes to a consent, then they can utilize that in court against you. But if you say no, then you can have an opportunity to get whatever they found. If they find something, to have it kicked out of court. So you never, ever, ever want to give consent. Under zero circumstances do you give consent. Under zero circumstances do you want to even give I'll just take it a step further, blow a alcohol DUI test. Say no. If they got to take you to jail, say no, because it will be used against you. When they tell you that they say anything you can and will be used against you, that you say they are telling the truth. And if you give them a consent to search your vehicle, you're giving them an opportunity to try to find something on you, period. And another thing you need to understand, you want to make sure you get home after a police encounter, right? You want to leave not in a hearse, not in an IMSA or in an ambulance. So you want to make sure that you get home. So you cannot win the fight out on the street. That's not saying you let them just run over you. You say no to consents to search, but don't try to fight them. Don't try to get loud, because that's not going to work. You need to just get home, make sure you say no to a consent, and then call a civil rights attorney like myself who can fight for your rights and make sure that you're safe.
All right, then. Well, that's certainly good advice right there. Again, Omokongo, I think last point before we go to a break. The thing here is, everybody who's watching, you're at home right now, and you're in Charlotte, you're in Houston, you're in St. Louis, you're in some city, okay, and you're sitting here trying to demand something happen in D.C. No, you should be going to your city council and saying, do what Philadelphia just did.
That's right. That's right. And everybody should be doing it, and we all have the power to do that. And really, at the end of the day, we can talk about everything that's happening around the country, but if we all put our energy and efforts of what's happening right down the street, I mean, I'm thinking about so many cases. Sandra Bland, I mean, the list goes on and on. There are people who could be alive today with actions like this. And so we need to get off of any armchair political commentary. And do we even know the names of our city councilors, right? Do we even know where their offices are? Do we know where the meetings are? A lot of them are happening over Zoom right now. Everybody can get out there and do something. This also ties into the conversation about jury duty as well. This is what action looks like, and it's going to have to happen at the local level so we can be the example for the federal level.
All right, folks, got to go to a break. We come back, we'll talk to two members of the Black Panther Party who fled America. Friday marked the 55th anniversary of the Black Panther Party. We'll discuss their story next on Roland Martin Unfiltered, right here on the Black Star Network.
Maureen is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon. So now she's free to become Maureen the Merrier. Food is her love language, and she really loves her grandson. Like, really loves.
Time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am Roland with Roland all the way. Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on there.
Stay black. I love y'all. I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared. You dig?
My name is Charlie Wilson.
Hi, I'm Sally Richardson Whitfield.
And I'm Dodger Whitfield.
Hey everybody, this is your man Fred Hammond, and you're watching Roland Martin, my man, Unfiltered.
The Black Panther Party, originally called the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, was founded by college students Bobby Seale and Huey P. Newton October 15th, 1966 in Oakland, California. Friday marked the 55th anniversary of the Black Power political organization. Considered one of the most revolutionary yet dangerous groups in America, of course, by the FBI in America. Of course, they had chapters all over the country and the world. Yet America was also scared of African Americans claiming self-defense. And so it was J. Edgar Hoover and COINTELPRO, the federal government, state legislatures, also cities as well. It targeted the Black Panthers, saying they simply would not allow them to grow in power and influence. Well, two of the Kansas City Black Panther Party founding members, Pete O'Neill, who is out of Tanzania, and his wife Charlotte Hill O'Neill, who's in Kansas City, they join me now on the show. Glad to have both of you here. First and foremost, Pete, you're there in Tanzania. Why?
I am, sir. Because I've been in exile for 51 years. And my wife and I, my lovely wife and I, have been able to maintain and continue the work and the efforts of the Black Panther Party here. We have built a community center that is internationally known. We have raised children. We have educated people in the arts, English, computers. Our works are legion. And I have to give a lot of credit to that, to my lovely wife sitting there next to you. How you doing, babe?
I'm doing great. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
So, Pete, you said you're in exile. Why? What happened?
Because I had an ongoing beef with the chief of police in Kansas City, Clarence Kelly, who later replaced J. Edgar Hoover as the director of the FBI. I went to Washington, D.C. to lodge charges against him for confiscating guns and turning them over to right-wing organizations. Fairness demands that I correct that and say that I charged his officers of confiscating guns and turning them over. They had a hearing to clear his name, and of course, he was cleared. But that led to my being in exile. They came back a few weeks later and found where I had bought a gun a year before, a $19 single-shot shotgun, and they claimed that I had transported it from Kansas City, Kansas to Kansas City, Missouri. And that in some places is going across the street. Now, I have carried many guns across that state line, but I did not with that one. And I was found guilty. They concocted 3 charges, 5 years each. They found me guilty on 1, had a hung jury on 2. The prosecutor jumped up and said, "We're going to retry him." They gave me 4 years on the 1 year. I've never said this publicly. I'm going to do this now. A policeman, Sergeant Parker, who was a liaison between the police, they used him as a liaison, to try to sway us away from our revolutionary activities. I used to talk about him bad, call him an Uncle Tom. I didn't know he was an angel in disguise. He came to me one time, and this is so on my mother's grave, and he came to me and he looked at me. I was at the YMCA. He said, Pete, when you go to jail, they're going to kill you. And he looked at me. This is a man older than me. And he started crying. He said, they're going to kill you, and ain't a damn thing I can do about it. Well, I can remember Kenny Rogers in The Gambler, where he played, he sang this song. He said, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run. I knew at that moment it was time to get out of Dodge. I took my 19-year-old wife, and we got on a Scandinavian plane, and it took off. It climbed, heading north, and all that was left on the ground was its shadow. And my wife and I went into the beginning of a 51-year, extremely exciting adventure, and the adventure continues.
So, Charlotte, you're in Kansas City, and so have you been traveling back and forth?
Every year I go on our UACC Heal the Community Tour. And I tell you, I just flew in day before yesterday, so I am jet lagged. But I'm so happy to be on the Black Star Network. Yes, and this is such an auspicious occasion. Just think, 55 years of the founding of the Black Panther Party. And it's still a lot of we who are now elders, you know, but we are still doing community work. And that is because of our experiences in the Black Panther Party. And like Brother Pete just said, we have been able to continue the community service that was the main thing of the Black Panther Party. Of course, it started out as being trying to protect the community, trying to sensitize the community to police brutality. But people a lot of times forget the thousands of children that we fed all across the country. You had to do this in each chapter. The medical centers, the helping incarcerated people and their families, you know, and this is what we have continued to do. And during Brother Pete's exile, we have not just survived, Brother Roland, we have thrived. And we have become one of the legends in the community in Tanzania and all over the world. I'm so proud of that. Being a positive example for these young people, we need all the positive examples that we can get.
Yes, we do.
So, Pete, what is it about the Black Panthers that, in your estimation, that people make the biggest mistake when they talk about the Black Panthers? What's the biggest mistake folks make?
Most people look, and I have had people ask me this to my face. They will say, yes, but aren't you a terrorist organization? I said, we most certainly are not. I say the Black Panther Party was founded, the foundational beliefs of the Black Panther Party are founded in and on love. Love for our African American communities, and if you want to take it to a more egalitarian situation, love for poor and oppressed people throughout the world. Our job, we started out, as Charlotte so correctly pointed out, we started out to protect the Black community. And then we had to serve the Black community. And this is what Charlotte and I are like this to this day. If we are not working, if we are not doing something concrete to contribute to the development or the survival of our community, we feel bad because we know we're coming up short. We know there's something we're not doing right. And so we do this. We have raised over 30 children, not orphans. I wouldn't call them orphans, although some of them may have been, but they all come from extremely challenged backgrounds. We took them as babies, small, not babies, toddlers, some 4 years old, something like that. And we've raised these children up. I was just with them. It's on Facebook. I was just with them the Saturday at their boarding school. And they're getting ready, they're young adults getting ready to enter into the world. We did this, and we did it not in the name of Pete and Charlotte O'Neill. We did it as members of the Black Panther Party. And we are known throughout the world for this type of work. We've had some notable people come here. My cousin is Congressman Emmanuel Cleaver. He's been out here. Sean Penn, the actor, has been out here at our place. Jude Law, the actor, has been here. What we need to do now is get some of our good folks of color, more of them, to come out here and see what we're doing and see how they can join hands with us and become involved in the very good work that we're doing. I'm telling you, this woman here that I'm married to, someone referred to her correctly as being angelic. She is, and I don't want to take up too much time on this, but it's just simply the truth. She's an extremely good woman, and she's had such a positive effect on me that it makes me so proud. I wake up in the morning and look in the face, look at my picture in the mirror, I say, I'm not as bad as I was yesterday. And it's in due to a large part because of this woman right here. Telling you the truth, brother. You know, I'm telling you, I'm from the streets. I have no reason to lie to you, no game whatsoever. That is just hardcore truth. She has had an effect on me that is profound. And it's odd because it started out, I was her older man. She had just turned 18 years old. I was 29 years old. You can only imagine how her father took to that when she took me over there to meet him. But he wanted to shoot me. I know he did. But he later became my best friend. But the script has been flipped. Now she's impacting on my life. I stay here with the kids 24/7. She travels around the world and she comes back and tells me about the exotic adventures she's had in China and Venezuela. It's just amazing. So anyway, I said we've had these people come out there. I'd love to have you come, brother. I really would. I'd love for you to come. I'd love for you and your crew to come out here and see, is this just hype? This stuff they're talking. Is this someone could run that like that and make it sound good, but it really is true.
Well, we might have to make that happen. I know I got to go to Liberia in 2022 for the 200th anniversary. And so they're trying to get me to come back to Ghana, and the Senegalese folks, the Nigerian folks will come. So we might have to make that a part of the trip. I'm going to get a quick question from each one of my panelists before we go to a break, because we're doing our Colin Powell tribute. Georgia, you get the first question for Charlotte and Pete.
Well, first, I just want to say thank you for your service to our community and for just keeping the legacy of the Black Panthers alive. I'm curious to know from you both how you have viewed the last year or two here in America, as we've seen so much protesting, and we've seen these photos from 2020 in comparison to, the 50s and the 60s, and it looks so similar. What are your thoughts about the recent uprising? Do you feel like we've made progress? Do you feel like America has backslidden? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think in a way they have backslid, but some progress has been made. That sounds contradictory, but it is true. But I was listening to you all talk before we came on the show, and I listened to you all, and I said, boy, they're speaking truth to power. And you were laying out a roadmap for what our people need to do. I have been asked 1,000 times, what should we do? And I said, organize, organize, organize. But I didn't take it further. I didn't take it far enough. You said get involved with the city councils. Make them do like they did. Did you say Philadelphia? You said, yep. Well, that was powerful. That was powerful. And that's a perfect example for something that it's not the end of it, it's not the end all be all, but it's a damn good first step. And so I think you're doing a wonderful job, and I think that this is a direction that our people need to be moving in. And what's so very, very interesting is the things that are happening now can be instantly recorded because everyone has recording technology in their hand. We didn't have that. It was our word against them, and you knew how that was going to turn out. And so, no, I am so proud of the manner in which people have organized so many people to speak out. George Floyd, there's so many people that have been. Oh, I keep up with this. I'm on the news, brother Roland. I watched you when you were on CNN, and I watched you when you made this marvelous transition. So I've watched what's happening, and I'm going to keep on. You all are doing a great job, and you're inspiring us, and I know you're inspiring people around the world.
I absolutely appreciate that. Charlotte, go ahead. Yeah, Charlotte, go ahead.
Yes, yeah, it's wonderful what the sister was saying. It's wonderful what Brother P was saying, but we can't forget that we also need to revive our community spirit, the love that's in the community, the way elders, when I was coming up in the 50s, the way elders would mentor youth and teach them how to do things with their hands. It's like we've forgotten how to do that. It's not just about book learning, y'all. It's about being able to also build and work together, whether it's a community garden, whether it's helping young people who can't read the way we used to do it for the Black Panther Party. It has to encompass small neighborhoods, small community groups also to build up this love that's going to help turn things around. And I got to mention this. My cousin, Elizabeth Deanna, was out here for 2 months.
Yep.
She's one of the youth who has been inspired by the Black Panther Party, by what the United African Alliance Community Center is doing. And you know what she's doing? She's starting to build a love story.
Yep.
A love story.
It's called Love. It's called, doing a film, it's called Love Away the Hate. Folks out there, you can follow her.
That's going to be.
Yep, you can follow her on Instagram, EBDIONNA. E for Elizabeth, B for boy, DIONNA. I want to quickly get to a question from DeMario, then we'll go to Omakongo, because I've got guests waiting for talking about Colin Powell. DeMario, your question for Charlotte and Pete.
Man, I just want to say it's such an honor to be on a call with these two living legends, and the way this brother has talked about his queen is truly inspiring. I am just so honored to meet you. I have a lot of family in Kansas City, the Ransoms and the Hobsons, and live right on 38th in Cleveland. I spent a lot of time up there in Kansas City, so it's just an honor. And you in Tanzania, one of my goals is to come to East Africa. I've been to South Africa, I've been to West Africa, but I want to get over to East Africa. So hopefully we can get connected after the show. I really don't have a question outside of, man, just tell us, I've been married, my wife 17 years, been together 30 years. How 50-year plus marriage internationally, just talk to us about that love, because I am just truly inspired to hear from you two.
Yes.
Let me tell you, allow me to tell you the answer to that. How do we do it? Has it been a crystal staircase? No, it has not. Have there been ups and downs? Yes, there have been. But we have a glue that has bound us together. And the glue was the ability to step outside ourselves, step outside our personal aspirations and goals, and embrace something larger than ourselves. And the thing we embraced was the struggle. And so whenever a problem arises, and they will arise, trust me, whenever they arise, we say, yeah, we do a little criticism and self-criticism. Is it right? Is it wrong? I may not be able to say it's wrong right now, but I'll think it in my mind, and I'll know it's wrong, and I have to back down. She'll do identically the same thing. That is the thing that builds relationships. That and the fact that the Black Panther Party was created on a foundation of love, as I said before. I would be remiss and I would not be able to live with the shame were I not to mention political prisoners. You all, while we're talking about what to do, we've got to get these people out of jails that have been languishing and suffering for 30 and 40 years for crimes that were made up by COINTELPRO. We all know it was. We all know COINTELPRO still exists. Ed Poindexter in Omaha, Sundiata, all of these, and the names are too numerous to mention. We need to do something for these people. This is what I'd like to leave with you. I'm charging you. I'm doing everything I can. I'm thousands of miles away. My wife and I, we talk about political prisoners whenever we have an opportunity to. You all are in the trenches. You've got to do something. You've got to do it.
I'm actually running short of time. Charlotte, I want to give you a final comment. I can't get your question on Congo. I'm so sorry. But Charlotte, you can go ahead and give your final comment.
I'd like to say, don't give up, y'all. Don't give up. Life may be rough, things might get tough, but don't you give up. Love y'all. Blessings flow.
Oh, I will certainly appreciate it. We will. So when the film comes out, we certainly will have y'all back on to talk about it again. Folks, it is Love Away the Hate. A film that that Elizabeth is working on, and again, her IG, folks, is take this down. You begin to follow her. Is EBDIONNA, EBDIONNA. Pete O'Neill, Charlotte, we appreciate it, and again, we hope to see y'all soon as a part of our African journey. We may have to spend a month there, since all the places people trying to get me to visit. So we'll see what happens. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, y'all take care. Thank you so very much.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat.
Ooh, yeah, that's nice. Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on?
Sure, it's wireless. Pick something we all like.
Okay, hold on.
What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password?
Buick Envision 2021.
Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable.
That's a really tight spot. Don't worry, I used to hate parallel parking.
Me too.
Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you, all of you.
Once upon a time, there lived a princess with really long hair who was waiting for a prince to come save her. But really, who has time for that?
Let's go. Feeling myself. I'm feeling
She ordered herself a ladder with Prime one-day delivery, and she was out of there.
I want some hood girls looking back at it and a good girl in my tax bracket.
Now, her hairdressing empire is killing it. And the prince, well, who cares? Prime changed everything.
But I'm back at it and I'm feeling myself.